Hey everyone, welcome to the Livingston Education LinkedIn Live event this afternoon. So appreciative to be here. Thank you to Livingston to Education and to Mike Raymer for having me. My name is Beth Hendler Grunt, and I am the founder of Next Great Step. And we provide guidance to college students and recent grads on how to land their first job or land the job that they deserve. And I just wanted to, first of all, I hope everyone is safe and in good health. I know this is a really crazy, surreal time, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. One of the things why I wanted to talk with you and reach out is that I know a lot of families like mine are um, are having concern about what's happening and in terms of the employment market. And let's make sure I'm live. No, I think I am. Okay. Um, so much going on in terms of what's happening in our times with the market, especially the job market for recent grads. And I just want to make sure that I offer some tips today about this new reality. Right now, our college students are home, they're learning online. Graduation is canceled in many cases, and there's no timetable for when this is going to come back. And even us as parents, we don't always know, what's going to happen. Internships that were offered are now being retracted. They may no longer exist, or they're not, we're not sure where that's going to be. So, my goal is to give you kind of some tips and guidance on how to guide your child. I also want to share that I'm in it with you. So, not only as an early career expert, but my son is a college junior who also had his internship canceled. And I'll share with you what we're doing and what he has done to try to make that situation work, because I'm in it with you. I really understand how hard it is, because we as parents, we want to give advice, but our kids don't always want to listen. So I do know that firsthand. And especially as a student, they're dealing with all of this change, that their jobs were canceled, that they're now learning at home. There's a organization called NACE. It's the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And they came out with a statistic that about only 65% of companies are staying true and holding on their internships right now. But that statistic was 85% 2 weeks ago, and it continues to drop. So it's definitely a concern. And then for the class of 2020, what's next for you? How do you compete in this market? This market was supposed to be the best hiring market in years, and now it's one of the most challenging. So what I want to offer are 5 tips, suggestions to help you as parents, if you're watching, and by all means, if your college kids are around, this is for them as well, on how to maybe guide them and give them some guidance that would make them feel that they could be more successful in landing that internship or first job. So the first thing to think about is that I understand your student, your grad, they are overwhelmed. They are panicked. We are, by the way, as parents too, because this employment situation has really unraveled in the last few weeks, and we don't see an end in sight. They don't see an end in sight. And what my suggestion to you is that to let them know that this isn't forever. There is an end game, and to focus on that, right? Focus on, at some point, things are going to shift. Things are going to come back, and keep them grounded in that understanding that, you can bury your head in the sand for so long, but, don't shy away from what's happening. I mean, focus on I had a client last week who just had 3 interviews. Now, hiring could be slower, it could take longer, but there are people hiring. And I want to just touch on some of those companies that are hiring. So clearly we know there's a huge demand in the grocery and online shipping space. But I also want to let you know that companies that are in the streaming space, we're consuming Netflix, or whether it's, Walmart said they're going to hire 150,000 workers. Amazon's going to hire 100,000. CVS is hiring 50,000. Not all of these jobs are necessarily on the front line. Some of them are, but they need people in supply chain and analysis and research and marketing. So it's also knowing where to focus your efforts right now of those companies and organizations that really have the demand, and just kind of help your child to kind of keep looking in that direction. The second thing I want to talk to you about is kind of where we are and the status quo of how college students typically apply to jobs. They typically apply by going online and clicking the submit button, or I'll say passively just send their resume out. And that model of looking for work and looking for jobs is going to be a lot more difficult, and it needs to shift, candidly. What I think, because it's going to be so competitive, they really need to prepare. They really need to think through what they're doing in terms of having their resume up to date, LinkedIn, but most importantly, that understanding of networking. And for a lot of young people, they're not always sure what that means. What am I saying? What am I doing? And I would have you suggest to them, reach out to people who are in the field that you're interested in. Reach out to someone who maybe is younger, graduated in the last 5 to 7 years. LinkedIn is a phenomenal platform. It's so easy to find people. If they're not familiar with it, and I can link it. I have like a free mini course on how to use LinkedIn, how to network. There's no charge, but I did this because so many young people aren't sure. But getting an understanding of what is it like to be in that field? What does that take? And I will tell you, people are very friendly right now. People are willing to talk to others, and especially recent grads, because we were all in that same spot. So encouraging them to reach out and talk to people, or take, one little step every day of like, maybe list 5 companies that you're thinking about, or 5 people that you'd want to talk to. Especially speaking with people who are a few years out of school, maybe it's a less intimidating, but they understand what an entry level job looks like. That would be a really good thing. I'm going to pause. I want to make sure if people are in, if you could just say hi, hello, and please post your questions as we're going. I will absolutely leave time for questions at the end. But if you have questions, please put them in the comments so I know that you're here, and then I will absolutely address them at the end of the session. Okay. The third thing that I want you to understand about your child and maybe help them with is this concept of, a lot of young people feel that they don't have the skills that an employer is looking for. They think, well, I only went to school. I don't have all this fancy experience. I'm not sure someone will want to hire me. And the truth is, they do. They actually have a lot of the skills. It's just getting comfortable saying it and understanding it. So if they were a camp counselor, they probably demonstrated leadership over leading a group of children, or having to, really good organizational skills. Or if they were worked at a restaurant, maybe they had to manage multiple tables. Maybe they learned how to sell because they were upselling dessert or additional beverages. But they probably have the skills. They just have to think about, what have they done, or what have they learned, even in the classroom? What kind of teamwork have they done to make that happen? And the other thing is that now is a good time to gain some more skills. So there is some more downtime. So whether they've been always thinking about, hey, I would love to learn how to code, or I really want to create that app, or maybe they're a writer and they want to build a portfolio, now's a great time to either enhance it, build it, or learn it. There's so many free courses that are happening, but any ways that they can not only get clear on the skills that they have, but also to enhance their skills, now is a really, really good time to do that. So they know what's possible. And also when they speak with people, it makes it easier to have those conversations. All right. So the fourth thing I want to talk about is internships. And this is a big challenge. So many internships are being retracted, or they're being changed from on-site to remote. And then some, a lot of young people haven't landed it yet and they want it. What do we do? So a couple things are happening. I want to share a story from a friend of mine who is in charge of hiring at a pretty large investment bank. And I asked him, what are you doing about your internship program? So typically their program is 14 weeks in person in the city. They are changing it to 6 weeks. The goal right now is to make the first 4 virtual and then the last 2 in person. But he said, candidly, if we don't get there, the whole thing will be virtual. He goes, for them, that their main source of recruiting is hiring college grads. They have to or college students, and getting them into that pipeline to get them ready for the next group that they're going into. So that's critical for them now, which is great. And they're maintaining that. Other companies have said, hey, we can't even sustain our full-time employees. We're not there. I think this is the time where your student really needs to become a little more creative. Things may not be what they expected. So I'll share with you a personal story about my son, Brandon. With his permission, he said I could talk about it. So Brandon is a college junior. He is a psychology major, and he had an opportunity this summer. He actually wants to go into sports psychology, and he was going to work with a head sports psychologist at a top university who works with all of the college athletes and helping them to get to their top mental performance in how they perform in their sport. And he was going to be able to observe and participate and be part of all types of different aspects of that. So that got canceled because that's on a college campus. So I said to him, hey, you got to figure something out. Let's think about, even if it's small pieces, or one, call back people that you might have worked for in the past, or let's take a look on LinkedIn. So, I helped him out as well, which you can as a parent. You can look on LinkedIn or other places and say, let's see what's out there. And we both happened upon the same person who said this person was promoting that he was teaching a webinar to high school athletes. And he's also a sports psychologist and had this mental performance expertise. And I said, why don't you just reach out to him, connect with him on LinkedIn, see what happens. And he did. The person accepted. And then Brandon followed up, said, could I just talk to you for 10, 15 minutes to learn about what you're doing and how you do it? So he didn't call him up and say, I need a job and I got to get an internship. He just kind of used it as an informational interview opportunity. And they spoke. Brandon did his research ahead of time. He made sure he knew what kind of keywords, buzzwords. He looked up his profile. I mean, Google's an amazing thing just to do the research always before they speak with anybody. And they got off the phone. And the guy said, hey, you sound like a nice kid. I don't have anything for you right now. We'll stay in touch. But the guy called him back 2 days later and he said, I was thinking about it and I think I could really use someone to help me in my webinar. So one, will you watch it and observe it? And then also, will you be interested in maybe recruiting high school student athletes for upcoming webinar events? And I'll pay you a % of the fee if you can bring more people to the class. So Brandon wasn't thinking about being in sales. He wasn't thinking that I was going to go try to solicit people for a course, but he's still getting the skill where he gets to learn about something that he was interested in. And maybe he's going to be doing something different. And I think, and it's, it'll be for a couple of weeks on and off. So it's a part of something. And I think that's a good example for anybody who's trying to figure this out for their student of how do you help them figure out how to piece some things together. It could be this concept of what we call micro internships. Micro internships is a new term where employers are looking for college kids to do something short term, whether it's clean up a database or edit a HR manual. And, it's freelance work. And there's some companies out there that are doing that. And I think that's another thing. And one other thing I want to suggest too, we have so many fantastic businesses here in Livingston, especially the restaurants that are trying to support us and with all the delivery and different food needs. But I'm sure they need help with some digital marketing. I'm sure they need help with maybe some analyzing their data of how much volume they need. If your student has any of the skills that I think could support them, then offer that, volunteer it, see if they need help in any way, because everyone around here who has a small business needs help to sustain. Maybe they'll pay your student, maybe they won't, but maybe it's just them getting the skills and being able to figure that out and help them on a regular basis, I think could really bring value. And in the end, it's helping your student gain those skills. couple other things on internships. Your child may have not checked in, but I have seen many, many universities offering virtual career fairs. Like the Big Ten Conference of Schools on April 15th is offering all of the schools together a virtual career fair for all the employers who want to hire from that school. So please make sure your child goes back and checks with their career services at their university to see what they are offering and how they can take advantage of it. Because I know a lot of times they'll say, oh, there's nothing there, they didn't do anything, but there's a lot of resources. I recently blogged about it, about at least like 10 or 15 schools that have upcoming virtual career fairs, and companies are recruiting that way. All right, so bring you to my last point of that, number 5, and that kind of connects to that virtual career fairs. So one of the things that I think is here to stay and not going anywhere is this video and phone communication, right? We're in an online Zoom world, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And even though young people are very familiar with it, with FaceTime and Snapchat, having a video interview or video networking conversation, or even a phone networking conversation, is going to be very different from what they are used to. And I would suggest that they need to get really comfortable with doing this well, where they need to have a clean background. So I'm set up for video, or, the rest of the mess of my office is somewhere else. You don't see it. Having a good camera, lighting, a microphone, just practice looking at the camera instead of at the screen when they have interviews and conversations. So getting comfortable and being able to do that really, really well is going to be really important as they go forward. So what I want to do is I want to open it up to questions, but I'm not seeing the questions. So let me see if there's anything here. Let me kind of see if I can grab this. Now I want to stay on this page. All right. So for some reason, I don't see commentary. Let me see. If anyone can just give a quick hi or question, but for some reason, I'm not seeing it. I don't know if someone wants to give me a quick text with some of the questions, and maybe I can address it. I know I have a bunch of friends on here, but I'm not seeing any of the commentary. Let me see if I can see that. Hold on a second. Okay. Here we go. Oh, swipe. All right, I'm not on all right, I just jumped into, okay, I think if you guys can still see me, I can now see the questions. I just opened another, I just know, but are you coming in to help me? How do I see the questions? Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. This is real time. My husband helping me with the feed. So now I can see it on his phone, and I appreciate it. Okay. So let me get to some of the questions that you have here. Yes, I will post. So first, let me just answer some of the questions. So I will post some of the details on the virtual career fairs. If just very briefly, there's a company, I will post that link there. And then in terms of the micro internships, there is a company called Parker Dewey. So it's parker-dewey.com. I have no financial interest in them whatsoever. I just happened to have the opportunity to speak with the CEO, and if you can, I spoke with the CEO, and they are doing those internships. So if you want to look that up, that's a really good idea. So, okay. Yep, exactly. PARKER-DEWEW is Parker Dewey. Okay. Any other questions here? Yeah, I see someone else's son is a psychology major. It's hard. I mean, look, not everything's going to fit perfectly into what we hope or what they had hoped, right? There's this preconceived notion of what everyone wants to have in this ideal internship. And I think we're really going to have to manage expectations about, hey, what can we do? What can I learn? Maybe I didn't expect to learn this. Maybe I didn't expect to be learning how to do Excel or managing Excel templates, or something that I wasn't thinking about. But maybe this is the time to do it in it, and to be flexible about that. All right, very good. Okay. So if I don't see any other questions, I'll hang on just for a minute. I'll kind of offer, one other thing to think about. I mean, this is also the time to be entrepreneurial. Talking with people who came out of the 2008 recession, which was also a hard job market. So those people are in their 30s. So that's not, it's not me, it's not my kid, but it's someone they're in their 30s right now. And people definitely took a pivot and thought about doing things that were different, or maybe starting your own gig, or you're starting your own business, or starting your own side thing that wasn't what you had planned, but it definitely contributed to what you might have done. Another question is, are there online courses where kids can take to brush up their skills? Absolutely. So what I just found out the other day is that I think the consortium of the Ivy League schools actually released over 400 courses that they are now making open to the public and for free. There are a couple of course platforms. Again, I have no interest in them, but they're called Coursera, Udemy, Udemy, Thinkific, and a lot of courses are for free. So I think what I would first focus on what is it that you want to learn, or you can go to those platforms and see what's available, and maybe it'll jog some ideas of what you can take a look at. But there's a lot of free courses right now. A great one, which is on my list to take, the number one course at Yale University is the course about the key to happiness. So I think it's more of just like a feel good. If you feel like you just need something to pick you up, I know that's a really, really popular one, and a lot of people are thinking about that. Okay, so most kids apply via portals. How can a student connect with a person in HR to offer doing a micro internship? So a combination of things. My favorite portal really is LinkedIn. And I think it's really simple. I think you can go to LinkedIn, you can go to the company's page, and then you can even, each company has their own page. Go to people on the left-hand side and type in the keywords like HR, human resources. And that way you can then find someone who's in HR, and you should say, like, reach out to them directly. I'm really interested in your company because, or I'm interested in talking to you because you're focused on this. And I think I could be a fit for something, or I'm here to do short-term work if you need it. I think just to make yourself clear about how you can offer your support and resources to companies, I think will make them be appealing to you. In terms of volunteering, yes, I think, first of all, there's such a need for volunteers right now, whether it's even as simple as getting on a FaceTime or Zoom call with someone who's elderly, just to be giving of their time and supporting them because they're lonely, or whether it's helping organize all these contributions to our first line workers. But I think any kind of volunteering that shows that you're just, first of all, people need it, where there's so many people in need right now. But I think also, again, adjusting your expectations about, it doesn't have to be this great, fancy, prestigious thing. I think it's something that if you feel that there's a skill set that you can learn something from it, then I would do it. I would be pretty open. I think my overall feeling is be open to saying yes more than saying no, if possible. Okay. Karen, I did not see your question. So if you wanted to repost that, let me see. I'm just looking back at our other questions. Okay. For rising juniors, since the competition will be so strong for next year for internships, when should a junior start looking and how can they stand out? That's a really great question. And I want to continue on even from my friend in HR who told me something which I thought was really interesting. So if your child is a freshman or sophomore, I think that internships are not reserved just for juniors. Now, I know in the past, a lot of companies said, well, I only want a junior or a senior. I think all those rules are broken at this point. I think people need people to help them with their businesses. And if young people can take the initiative and be assertive and offer and find ways to help, absolutely do it. I don't think things have to be reserved for juniors. But here's one thing: whether school is live in person in the fall or remote, wow, we have like this major hailstorm going on outside. Um, they should start thinking about it now, especially over the summer. And a lot of recruiting happens like end of August, early September. So at minimal, if they, piece a couple things together over the summer, they need to really be in tune with their career center in the fall and understand and be reaching out to employers, whether it's directly through their school career services or on their own, because a lot of recruiting happens in August, September, October for the following summer. And the more that they can be in tune about having a clear list of the companies they want to target, 5 to 10, another 5 to 10 people that they want to start networking with and focusing on because they have the job that they want. I think the sooner they do that, the better, knowing how to have a good pitch, an elevator pitch about what you're about, your skills, how you can help that company be successful with your skills. All of that, I think, is really, really important in getting an early start. And I'll make one other interesting point. So my friend, who is the hiring person at the investment bank, he said to me, here's something interesting. Now, they used to hire, the plan was always that they would take about 80% of their interns as full-time. They'd make full-time offers for graduation. He said this year, they can't, if everything goes virtual, if the whole junior year internship, even though they're keeping it, is only 6 weeks and it's all virtual, he's like, those same kids are going to have to reapply, have to go through the recruiting process all over again because the employer didn't really get to see them in person. So just because you have an internship and it used to be a little bit more of an in to get the job after graduation, you're going to have to work really hard and be paying. And he said, he's like, they're going to have to pay attention really closely about when those recruiters are coming to school if you really want to get back into the company that you just had a virtual internship with. So look, the goal is not to stress everyone out. It's just a matter of planning and doing things a little bit sooner than later and being in touch. I mean, that's my biggest message, is being in touch with the people that potentially are in the ability to hire, especially HR managers or people who are in the job, because they'll be able to tell you the inside of what it's about. I hope that helped answer your question, Karen. So I think, unless I see a few more questions come in, I think that's kind of, where we are. The net is that we cannot control the outside world. I wish we could, but we can. But I know we can control what we do right now. And the more that we can kind of figure this out and help our kids, the better. I'm here. I'm a Livingston resident. If there's any questions, anyone wants to reach out, I'm happy to talk to anybody, providing any support I can. And my goals, I hope everybody stays safe and healthy and has, a good day. All right. Thank you so much.